Well, some evacuees are expressing frustration over the lack of access to news as Meta's ban on sharing articles on the company's social media sites continues. For more on this, we're joined by Gregory Taylor. He's an associate professor in the Department of Communication, Media and Film at the University of Calgary, and he joins us tonight from that city. Thank you for being with us, Gregory. What do you make of these frustrations that are being shared by the evacuees?
Well, I think they're completely understandable right now. I mean, at this time when we absolutely require reliable and accessible information, Meta, or Facebook, call it what you will, has chosen this time to make a point with the government that it dislikes a policy that the government has brought in and therefore is not allowing the sharing of information or of news on its site. This is a decision that has been made by Meta and people of Northwest Territories, in fact, people across Canada, have every reason to be upset about this.
Yeah, so we've had guests who have said they have tried to share screen grabs. They can't share articles that tell their family and friends what is going on, in some cases in areas near them. And they have found that it's really difficult to give people good information. Today we heard Canada demanding Meta lift the ban for the wildfires. What do you make of the fact that we haven't heard from Meta yet? I mean, that call was just a few hours ago, but there is a disaster unfolding.
Yeah, Meta has announced that they've allowed the service where you can signal to people that you're safe and that you're alive, and people have used that in various other disaster scenarios. So what that also does show is that this is a very deliberate act by Meta to try and make a point where they are very literally playing with people's lives right now. Now, other people would argue, well, the government, should have known that this was coming. Well, nobody knows that an event like this is going to happen. But what we're seeing right now is that instead of helping out, Meta has chosen the other path, which is to hold its ground and block the news sites, just as they said that they were going to. As a point of comparison, early on in COVID here in Calgary, the company Shaw opened up its Wi-Fi network across the city to anyone. You did not have to be a Shaw customer to use their system. They recognized that they could help in what was a very disastrous time for the city. They were being a good corporate citizen. It's kind of the opposite of what we're seeing from Meta right now.
Gregory, what do you say to people who say, Facebook, Instagram, these are social media sites, it's recreational stuff. Why is this information so crucial in emergency situations like this?
Well, I think that a lot of people realized during the COVID years that access to online information is not just a recreational thing anymore. There's much more at stake than posting your travel photos or watching a movie on Netflix. At times, there are absolutely essential elements of being part of a modern, being in a modern society. We need access, and so we need access via broadband to get on the internet, then we need access to some of these services. I think what we're seeing is that leaving these services to the whims of somebody like Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk on Twitter or X, call it what you will, that this poses its own problem. And I think governments worldwide will have to be examining this.
How would you characterize this fight between the government and Meta?
I would characterize this as something far beyond whether or not we can post links to news channels and whether or not Meta needs to be paying to Canadian news companies, because Meta has tons of money. They've made a profit of $120 billion last year. They're fine. But the bigger question is the place of regulation in a contemporary democracy, and does a government have the right to bring regulation upon these companies that have worked free of any kind of oversight now for more than a decade? And the companies are fighting this tooth and nail. We've seen it in Australia, we've seen it in Spain, and around the world they are watching this right now. Europe is watching this, and a lot of governments will be saying, okay, is this an area that we can just allow the markets to decide anymore? Should governments bring in stronger regulation?
What do you think? What are the potential solutions here?
The solutions are I mean, they're very broad, and this is something that, as I said, I think the implications of this are we're only beginning to figure out. I think what will have to be seen is how much of this, a site like Facebook or Twitter, how much of this is a public service? Are there parts of this that should not be subject to the whims of the marketplace or of the owners at any particular time? That there are times where, no, this is actually a public good, and you cannot control the content on it. So, for example, on telephones and railways for a long time, there's the concept of common carriage, meaning that the companies that ran those essential services could not control what was held or taken on those services, what type of goods got used on those services. That was common carriage. They didn't make those decisions. Is that what we have to think about now with Facebook and with Twitter and other parts of the internet? Because if left to their own devices, we're seeing that they are often not coming through at the times when we really need them.